Welcome to Perfect Pitch with Reginold. My today's guest is Dan Harris, you Chief Revenue Officer for Claudio. Well, today's discussion will be very interesting. We're going to dissect life, the role of a Chief Revenue Officer. It's a very challenging role. And welcome, ma'am.
Thanks, Ray. It is going to be it.
Yes, of course. It's a delight for me that you are there for this particular interview. And we're going to talk about, Dan, about your specific role with Claudio. I know that it's very difficult. But my first question to you is, the Chief Revenue Officer role, is has come off late, C-suite, you had the CEOs. What are your thoughts from that? How do you define a CIO's role?
That's quite a big question. After, so give it a go. So the CRO, but when I first started in sales, we didn't really have a CRO. But I grew up in the UK, right? And in the UK, we didn't really have a concept of a C-suite. We had managing directors, sales directors. So my first leadership role in sales was a sales director. And I think that's kind of more this new title of being a Chief Revenue Officer over recent years. But to answer the question, what does the role actually mean? Well, it's everything responsible for revenue. Typically, if we look at this from a sales perspective, it often refers to all the go-to-market activities. It often refers just to the sales. So how do we go and win net new logos? How do we go and win new visits from new customers? Also, though, how do we manage the Disney accounts and try and widen also back with particular streets? And increasingly, try and drive a high valuation in their business. How do we build in annual recurring revenue and not big goods and not big contracts?
So, Dan, my next question would be around that. How do you define the difference between need and demand generation on a go-to-market strategy?
Okay, but we want to try away from talking about the Chief Revenue Officer being responsible for sales, and we're now talking to marketers. Now, I can't speak to this point. So, but once I'm actually studying marketing at the university, so I have a theoretical understanding of marketing. But I made a conscious decision not to go into marketing as my career, particularly the sales. But I'll explain later. But 2 points you made there around lead generation and demand generation, I would typically put them into a marketing function style and let it play why. So lead generation, right? Well, okay, what is a lead? How do we find a lead? It uses somebody that's engaged with our brand, our products, our service in some way, shape, or form, and they've identified that they are interested to engage with the sales team. So that opportunity, you have to convince the sales guys of what people would call an MQL marquee qualified lead. Does that make sense? Do we get a little bit on that?
Yeah, but it would be great for the audience, to little people they can understand from your perspective, lead generation, what are the challenges involved in that?
Okay, and you would compare support around the demand generation?
If you're comfortable with.
Yeah, okay, right. So you had it PLG. Okay, so PLD stands for product-led growth, right? And marketing is talking a lot around reports of having followed their growth, right? Or product market fit. These are really important for any company going into anybody to try and raise a startup funding. What is your market, right? Who's going to buy your product? How are you going to monetize it? That's where demand generation really cuts it. So it's finding people who actually don't know who you are, but they have a need for what you say. I go back to really on my academic CEO marketing. There's a hack people ADA: attention, interest, desire, and action. Right? That is, get people to be aware that you have an offering that could solve a problem they may or may not know about. Ideally, there'd be taste, interest, and then desire for some change. That's what gives all demand generation. And that AID part of ADA, that's sort of the bottom line work. It's the A part, the action. That's where you're converting that interest from demand to being a lead, and that way comes in a sale break.
So that going a little deeper on that question, generally what happens is a CRO would love to book a plug-and-play model wherein we can outsource the lead generation process, but you choose to have an in-house team and you try to work around the team, and you've been a very good leadership as a team player. So, what are your thoughts on that? Like, there are a lot of large enterprises which do outsource to agencies, but then what are your thoughts on those? How do you go ahead? Say what's right, what's wrong?
Well, I don't guess a right or wrong answer, but both answers are equally applicable, and I have done both approaches during my career. I think the rationale really comes down to: do you want to have lead generation as a core competency of your business? You want to be really have it integral to everything they're doing, or do you view it as something that you don't want to become expert in? You rather outsource that to somebody who is already expert in it.
Masons, that too.
Yeah. Well, we made a conscious decision that kind of we want to bring that functionality into the business and make the best environments. Great people, Britain people. We have made the best in train these people, and we want to develop them for the longer term. Now, the belief is we get their full attention, 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and a chance to really work them to hone their skills specific to us. If we do the agency model, we're not getting guaranteed 9 to 5, 5 days a week. They'd only worked on multiple buyers, and we're not going to have a chance to really build that depth of knowledge and that depth of talent and ability you could do for agreement service in-house. So, very deliberate decision. If I was in a hurry, I probably would have looked at the agency route, but this is a strategic goal for us. We've really tried to build our go-to-market to be something which is going to serve us for the long term. Bringing in-house makes a lot of sense.
But that's a really valid point, and in fact, most of my people who watch the podcast would relate to this. Coming to another question related to that, is how do you, like boost up the moral of a sales team? The chief revenue officer. How do you incentivize your team?
Yeah. Okay. Well, but there are two choices. So I've learned over the years that I think most sales people will figure out our crew. Sales guys will always hate their territory, and they've always had a push back. Doesn't matter how good the territory is, or how the combat is, they will always find a way to complain about it. So trying to poach some of these sales guys is tricky. A lot of people look at it in a really basic way, where they want to use money as the only division. Right? If you where the sales guys are really hungry to earn money, maybe possibly a bit interested in their own patrons, a little bit greedy, a little bit high customers. I don't think that's the only way to motivate people. Sure, there needs to be a variable phone. There needs to be some sort of bonus based on results. Sales ARPU is a meritocracy where you get paid results reduced, not returning up to work and doing a day job. But the best salespeople I've ever worked with, they are a different motivation. They're very motivated by doing the right thing for their hustlers. They have an intrinsic desire to do the right thing and help others be successful. Wherever this is that you chase money, it tends to run away. If you do the right thing, the money has to flow towards that. Truly, so help your customers, help them be successful, and you in turn will be successful with it. So the way to do that, we empower sales guys to help them help others, and this answer will be the money turns. Money turn all concept.
But I also want to add on to that, and we are to wrap, is that I've been for 20 years plus in sales industry. It's not only incentive or money. There's the factors all about how we get being treated, and also make a roadmap for growth. If that is there, the sales sticks to the prior organization for a long time and delivers results. I hope you understand that.
I do. I know everybody's going to be slightly different, but you will get the best return on the investment going in sales capacity if you have people on the journey with you for the long term. Right? Because it takes a long time to learn to learn a service or product portfolio and learn the processes the company you're working for. Right? So by the time you get people through a ramping period, they're just start to be affected. So if you lose them in 6 months or 12 months, you don't really recoup our startup costs. So I would sort of say, yeah, by the way, sales, is just beyond just monetary rewards. It's not some money, about feeling a sense of belonging, feeling they're learning and progressing within their career, and they've got a future, not as for now, but as a lot to in your business.